see this shop truck, boy? So what we got going on today is we have the all-wheel drive B-Series Turbo Honda-powered El Camino. We are giving a lot of attention to the engine bay. I'm talking about putting the engine bay back together, completely painting the motor, detailing the valve cover, making a custom valve cover, top cover plate, all kinds of cool stuff to make that engine bay look phenomenal. And also really exciting news about this shop truck. Man, this was a build of mine on the channel quite a while ago, earlier this year. Small block Chevy, simple setup. I set up this truck to be my everyday shop truck. I did not want to make something that was going to be slammed or impractical or not perfect. This truck for a 1965 GMC 2500 is the perfect shop truck. Most all other creators, they do giveaway vehicles with money, and what I mean by that is they buy something and then they make a lot of money off of it. I know there's only a few other guys out there that are building vehicles and giving you as the viewer the opportunity to actually end up with the vehicle by spending not a lot of money at all. So this truck could be yours. This truck, I am sad to see it go, but I'm excited to see it possibly go to you. More on the shop truck a little bit later. Let's get into the El Camino action. This video, this is one that I have been looking forward to making.
And now, you're watching the realization that is, can you come help me work on my car is the same thing as can you come drink all my beer while nothing gets done. Channel of YouTube. Welcome to Bodie Vision.
Hey, so what is up and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me yet again on another video. So at the end of the last video, what we have going on right now is we have the El Camino, El Chapo, Honda Milano, Shavanda. A lot of people were suggesting, I don't care what you call it, as long as you're watching it and as long as you like it, because I like it. So what we had at the end of the last video is we had the entire engine bay painted 100%. Now we need to start to worry about putting all of those things back in the engine bay that we just pulled at the beginning of the last video. All of the brake lines, all of the wiring, the ABS stuff. I'm just going to put all of that stuff back. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I'm not going to do a brake tuck. I want to just look like a nice OEM finish, so that way when you pop the hood on this El Camino, it looks like an OEM Honda, which is really weird in and of itself, and it's honestly a little bit less work to just put it back together that way, so I'm cool with doing that. And just like that, we have the bay filling up with things and stuff. A lot of the things that I label for myself as I put things back together, I just take off the labels. Like all of these brake lines, I just went ahead and I labeled them. I didn't label them for what exactly they were for. I just know that on this one I wrote A. On this one I wrote A. This one I put B. That one I put B, so on and so forth, just so that way I can kind of figure out where exactly they go, because in my mind I don't know exactly where they all go. Also, we painted the subframe just so that way that would be nice. We also did the brake booster, so that would be nice. We also did some brackets over here. The idea is anything that I'm putting back, if I can make it look a little bit better, let's go ahead and do it, but I'm also not going to kill myself over it. So right now I'm at a really good point. Everything that's in here is pretty good. I could put the fuse box back in, for example, but the main wire harness that comes off the motor needs to go into this hole back here. This hole back here needs to be exposed. If I put the fuse box in, it's going to make that hole not exposed. So everything that needs to go back in the engine bay is in here. Now I want to turn my attention to the motor itself. We want to tear that down, get that cleaned up, paint the block, paint the transmission. I want to do the valve cover because I want under the hood of the El Camino to look really solid. So we got the bay looking good. Let's go ahead and turn our attention to the motor, to the motor, to the motor. Let's turn our attention to the motor. as I am getting into this motor, we want to get this area all cleaned up so that way I can paint it. I've done this plenty of times, turns out really nicely. I'm going to probably do the block, the transmission, and the intake manifold. I will paint the valve cover after the motor gets reinstalled because of the ropes or the chain that always scratches up the valve cover. So let's get the motor back in the car and then we can rip it off, paint it, then put it back for the final time. So for now, I'm going to ignore the valve cover completely. But one thing that I wanted to mention, the slave cylinder down here, we have a broken stud. Let me see if I can get it a little bit better for you. So this stud right here is broken. Worst case scenario, I can get my welder going and weld another head to it, but let's see. Let's see if I can save myself the time. Oh, baby. Yeah, that's it. That's all we need. Why a mechanic couldn't have done this in the car, don't know. I think they just said if one won't hold it, two never will. Because we got that out of there perfect. Super easy, super simple repair. Vice grip stud, all good. What is going on with that guy right there? Okay, let's keep it moving. With the El Camino having a lot more horsepower and being all-wheel drive, what I think I'm going to do, well, not what I think I'm going to do, what I am going to do is we need to throw a new clutch on this thing here. So let's get the old one ripped off. I wasn't planning on separating the transmission, but then I forgot that I need to put a clutch on here, so no big deal. We'll get it slammed on relatively quickly here. Was that it? Was that all? How does it look? Looks alright. Keep in mind, this was just a bone stock CRV. Nothing at all going on with it. I don't think I'm going to do anything crazy. I'm just going to get this slammed together because keep in mind, this motor being a stock B20, it might not last forever, so I don't know that I'm worried about digging into the rear main seal and doing all of that stuff. I'm just upgrading what's necessary to make this car, to make it work and do what it needs to do. So flywheel, I'm just going to clean it up a little bit, put the new clutch on, replace the pressure plate, get it all slammed back together, then get the transmission back on and get this thing painted because we need this thing to act right and to look good while doing it. So now that we made quick work out of getting that stage 4 clutch kit installed, let's turn our attention to start working on getting the entire motor painted. I'm talking transmission, block, head, the works, and then eventually we can focus on chipping away at the valve cover. That I cannot wait for. Alright, so as you can see, we got everything going back together. We have the block, we have the transmission painted, all of the brackets and everything that I've been putting back in the engine bay. I've been painting them and cleaning them up as well. I think I have everything going on in the back as far as the firewall. I also have everything going on in the back of the motor. The last thing that I just did was my oil supply line right here for the turbo. I wanted to address that before because I don't want to be pinched in between the firewall and the block messing around with a lot of that stuff. So let's get the car way out of the way. Let's get the motor up in the air. I have one more little plate that I need to put on for the transmission. I'll do that while it's up, and then we'll get the motor dropped in and then turn our attention to getting that valve cover painted. That's what I cannot wait for. We got the beautiful motor, beautiful engine bay. The cherry on top, hint hint, as far as color goes, is going to be the valve cover. Man, so overall, that went pretty smoothly. It really helps to have the chain where I can just lower the motor straight down into the engine bay, and I was also fighting off the rain. So that's at a point where I'm happy with it. Now let's turn our attention to getting some primer going on that valve cover. So at this time, it is the next day. Now yesterday, it was raining as I was doing all of this stuff. The rain didn't really work out for me because I have to have the car inside as I'm painting. I'd rather have the entire area, but a new shop, that would be really nice. We're working on that. Eventually we can move into someplace with a little bit more space, but for now we gotta work with what we have. So getting to this valve cover. Right now the primer is not as cured as it needs to be for me to sand it. I definitely do need to sand it. It is actually still a little bit more sticky because of the rain. Rained all night, still raining this morning. It has not had the proper amount of time to dry. So something else that I wanted to do to this valve cover, if you're familiar with a lot of the B series stuff, you know, like the VTEC, the B16, B18, those have like this little spark plug cover that just covers a spark plug. It makes it look a lot nicer, a lot more streamlined, and more of a smoother valve cover. The B20 and some of the older LS B18s don't have a place for a cover, but I'm not going to let that slow me down because I want to make one. Usually they would have like these little ears that go here and there and there. I'll show a picture on the screen so you can kind of see what I'm going for. I want that look, but on my B20 valve cover. So it should be relatively simple. Let me just get a rectangle going. We want to go from edge to edge, so let's just call it 16.5. This needs to be a little bit more narrow. 16.5 by 2.5 should be good. I'm gonna get something like that cut up, throw some dimple eyes in it, see what we got to do to make this a little bit more streamlined. As the primer's drying, we'll work on that. Hopefully a little bit later on today, if the sun comes out, we can let this thing cure up a little bit more because I really want to get the base coat and clear coat down on this thing so that way we can wrap up this video. So some pretty simple cutting, 2 measurements, couple holes, really easy. Now we are turning this B20 from one of the ugliest Honda B-Series heads of all times. Heads, I mean valve cover, it's not the head. Check this thing out, dude. Look how much better that looks. We have the B20 non-VTEC valve cover. Would never come with this cover for the spark plugs. Just took a little while, some materials I had left over, and all in all, that's a win for me. I saw that they actually sell these, but then I thought to myself, why would I buy one if I have metal in the shop? It took hardly any metal at all. So that's looking really good. Now that the sun came up, we are going to let this primer hopefully cure so that way I can get some base coat and clear coat going on it. And then that little piece right there, the spark plug cover, I'll probably do that a silver, because I think that looks pretty good. And I have rattle can silver. I don't necessarily always go all out crazy. I don't feel like it's necessary to do. I don't know. Rattle can silver is what I'm feeling. The same exact silver that we used on the engine block. I think that that'll look good. It'll be a nice contrast for the color that I'm going to do the valve cover. So let's get that knocked out. And then as I'm doing that, we'll give the valve cover a little bit more time to dry so that way we can eventually get to that. Right. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. So it has been about 10 minutes, and what I want to do now is just knock off all the paint off of these letters. Now I did this between each step. I wanted to do it after primer so that way I wouldn't have so much primer to knock off, and then at that point I'm not too worried about it being messed up. Now that we did our base coat, I want to knock the paint off again so that way when it goes time for clear coat, everything can be cleared over and I won't have to sand on the final finish. Right now, if I make a mistake, I could go back and do a little bit more base coat if I needed to, but let's just try to take our time, not make a mistake, and get these letters cleaned off, because I think that looks really good. And just like that, that's how you do it. Nice, slowly, carefully. At the end, I brought them all in one direction so that way it has a nice little detailed finite look to it. So let's go ahead and mix up the clear coat, throw the cover on this thing, throw it back in the engine bay, and I cannot wait to see this entire thing laid out. Put a little bit of time into your stuff, make it look real good. Better than necessary, some might argue, but I don't care. I want it to look good. Yo, do you see how good this thing turned out, man? I am so excited to see this put on the car, in the engine bay, El Chapo, Honda Milano, Shavonda, whatever you want to call it. We got this guy right here painted silver. That is going to cover the spark plugs, and I am extremely pleased with how this thing came out. So what I want to do is I want to put it on the car, but I don't want to create a bunch of dust in here. I want to give this some time. So in the meantime, I have a couple of other things that I need to do, and it is going to be perfect for me to take out the shop truck, show you that the shop truck is on the street every single day doing things. I've been dailying this truck for quite a while. Then I actually got my newer Silverado. The shop truck, I haven't been using it as much, and like I mentioned earlier, I want to get into a bigger shop eventually. So number one, I don't really have room to hold on to this truck. Number two, to get a little bit of money moving to fund some more projects. The more projects I can turn, the more money I can save up. The more money I can save up, the sooner I can get into a larger shop, because I do have that in the back of my mind that I would like to get a larger shop here eventually. So if you would be interested in that, go ahead and click the link down below. There's also a bunch of details on there as well. So let's go ahead and get busy. I need to go pick up some mulch, and we're gonna take the shop truck while I still have it before it's yours. Dude, how sick is that shop truck, man? So just to give you a little bit of background of what goes on over here with budgeting for builds and living and all of that stuff financially, YouTube views alone is not that good. The only way that I can continue to do what I'm doing is through your support, through the views. The views is something, and also your support on the giveaway. So everybody that watches my videos, thank you so much. Anybody who has supported on any giveaways thus far, I really appreciate it. And anybody who wants to click the link down below and support the channel even more, go right ahead if you'd like to. If not, that's all good too. I appreciate you being here watching the video either way. So let's go ahead and check out this valve cover now that it has been some time. What we want to do is we want to see this thing sitting on top. Let me adjust you real quick. Sometimes you got to get your boy to adjust you, you know? So we are just going to sit this on here for now because I don't have the new gasket on here. I'm not going to finalize this, but we still need to take a look. And dude, how phenomenal are we looking right now, man? Come on, let's put this cover on. Woo! I can see where this is going and I like it. So this center hole right here lines up with that stud. We are going to have to extend that to bolt that on there. But even without it, even with it just sitting there, how sick is that? B20 with the cover, painted, and all in all, going along with the theme of Honda colors, we have championship white in the engine bay. We have the valve cover. This is actually Milano Red R81. This is NHO. Those are the two paint codes. NHO is the white. R81 is for the Milano Red. This is very similar to Boosted Boy Kyle's hatch. That's actually Roma Red. Milano is just a little bit different. So this is not actually the same exact color, but it's very close if you saw that series. So dude, how awesome is this thing coming together? What else do we got? I need to get a fuel rail put on here. I'm going to be buying some parts off of my brother because he was doing a B-Series turbo setup and has some extra parts. So we got fuel rail coming. We got injectors from him coming. So I will get all that sorted very soon. Let's get the turbo thrown on here so that way we can get a bigger, better picture of how old people are gonna get confused when they see this thing with the hood popped at car shows. That is something I cannot wait for. All I can do, man. This is all I can do. Just sit here and look at it. Look at the cream white from the championship white. Look at the off red from the Milano Red. How good of a combination is this? I don't think they make a better combo, and this is getting me so much more excited to do the exterior because the exterior is going to be championship white, and there is going to be some of this red along with a handful of other colors tied into the entire exterior because we are going for a cool kind of retro 70s 80s paint job on this. Number one, because I would like to. Number two, I think it would look good. And number three, because I can. So some of my thought process behind painting the valve cover this color is, what's the greatest Honda valve cover color of all time? It's Honda Wrinkle Red from the Type R's. Integra Type R, Civic Type R, B16 in the Civic, B18 in the Integra. Wrinkle Red is awesome. Now they sell Wrinkle Red out of a can, but I don't like that texture, and I'm so picky about the stuff that I would have rather had this be Wrinkle Red, but it would have to be the correct Wrinkle Red, the same exact texture of the Type R. The stuff in a can creates a different texture that I'm not a fan of because it does not look correct. So if you're not going to hit the mark, let's do something completely different and hit the mark in our own way by doing this gloss red. What do you think, dude? Are you as hype as I am? We're going to get the entire outside of this car painted championship. We got the jams to do. We got quite a bit of work to do. We also have the bed that has to be done. But as I'm stepping back and looking at this thing, man. This car is going to be dangerous, and dare I say, probably one of my favorite builds that I have ever done of all times, of all of my builds. We got the slam box, we got my shop truck, the LS swapped Honda Accord. The shop truck could be yours if you check out the link in the description down below. I'm curious to see how everybody responds to that. I know some people don't want me to give it away, or some people think I should keep it. If you think that shop truck is amazing and that I should keep it, well, it could be yours, and then you can keep it. Also, I would like to see somebody, you know, taking it out on the streets every so often, putting it to use, because as I got my new truck, I don't use the old one as much. So for this video, I am happy with where we are at. I want to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. Do you like this color combo? Does your uncle's El Camino look a lot better? It's gonna come to a certain point, man, where we cannot deny that it cannot compete with your uncle's. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like this video, comment, subscribe, check out the link down below, do all the stuff, you know what it is, YouTube. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.